Welcome, I'm Mayor Gary Sulz, and with me today for the first time on this video series is Emily Lindsay, our engineer in training. So welcome, Emily.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today. So today we're going to discuss the recently amended water regulations. Emily, as part of that project and lead for that project, what changes have been made to the water regulations for the City of Revelstoke?
Yeah, so at the moment, or up until now, we've had just stage 1 water restrictions that exist all year round. And these have always worked on where you can outside sprinkle between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. on your given day. So for odd numbered addresses, that's been on odd numbered days. For even numbered addresses, it's been on even numbered days. And so we've made a really minor change this year where the same time window applies, but you can only sprinkler 3 days per week. For odd numbered addresses, that is Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and for even numbered addresses, that is Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. And that gives us 1 day a week that just our operations staff can have to manage the water distribution and supply network. And it sort of just ends up with a more logical and even spread across the city. And that allows us, if we need to, further down the line, move towards greater restrictions that are more logical to follow. So for example, if we need to go into stage 2 restrictions, we would drop down to 2 days a week.
Right.
And you would just lose 1 day. So you'd be on Tuesday and Saturday and Wednesday and Sunday. And there's less shuffling around of days that makes it harder to follow.
And so when we talk about the water regulations, we're talking about sprinkling. People can still hand water their plants in their pots and that sort of thing, correct?
Yeah, so it's loosely around all outdoor water use,
Okay.
I guess. And where we haven't necessarily had a lot of definition in the past, what I've tried to do is come up with a more comprehensive table that breaks down different types of outdoor water use that we have. So it might be sprinkling your garden lawn or watering your vegetable or food producing plants, or it might be washing your driveway. And so all these different things have different levels of importance as water security becomes more dire and we need to prioritize where we can be putting that outdoor water use. So for example, we want to try prioritize putting water onto food producing plants, but
Right.
maybe sprinkling our lawns can come of lesser importance.
And then, so I know that in other communities, they have contests to see who can get the brownest lawn during the summer, rather than, watering all the time onto that lawn. The idea is for us to keep our reservoirs full, so we have water for, as you're saying, food producing plants, as well as, we have enough water for domestication, basically washing our dishes, taking a shower, our drinking water, all those sorts of things. That's the important part, but we also need water for fire flows, correct?
Yeah, correct. So the city has a water supply that they then treat and is distributed across the city to provide potable drinking water.
Right.
And that's kind of the primary reason we're treating our water. We also have our distribution network that allows for us to have fire flow. So if there's a house fire somewhere in the city, that we have enough water supply, enough flow, enough pressure in order to attack that fire. Then secondary to that, yes, we can be using our water supply for outdoor water use, but it doesn't need to be a treated water source.
Right.
We could equally be collecting rainwater in barrels in our backyards and using that as our outdoor water supply. So it's just about improving our water conservation practices and understanding that our water supply isn't an infinite resource and we just need to treat it with care and make sure that we're not overreaching.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. I know that for me, my wife and I, we have 3 barrels that are connected up to our gutter system.
Awesome.
That collects the water. And we learned that years ago watching my wife's aunt on the farm in northern Alberta. They would always have to have water, collect rainwater, and they would have multiple barrels for their domestic use. and that sort of thing. And so you look at that and go, yeah, that's probably a pretty good thing. Do we need to do that? We've been lucky, but we've been lucky here in Revelstoke that we haven't had to go past stage 2. And but we need to be really prepared for that as we move forward. So I think what you've brought in as far as those water regulations are really going to help. And then as we move forward, I hear from people, why can't we water at night? And my understanding is that's when we refill our reservoir.
Yeah, that's right. So every city is different in how their water supply and distribution system works. The way ours is managed is that overnight the water use across the population is generally at its lowest because people are asleep, they're not turning their taps on. And so our public works operations team uses that time to then pull from our supply source and pump to the reservoirs across town. So when people get up in the morning, our reservoirs are full, and that's where we get our firefighting supply security from.
Okay, and that's really good to know why we have the system set up the way it is. So you're doing 6 to 10 a.m. versus 4 to 6 a.m. or whatever. So Emily, what research was done before you made these changes?
So mainly I looked at a group of probably about 10 municipalities across BC and a few others from across Canada just to get an idea of what people are applying in other communities. Particularly I looked in the area closer to us to get a sense of where climates might be a little bit more similar to ours. I know that Revelstoke's a little bit different in that we are located in an interior rainforest, but we are surrounded by a lot of communities that do experience very heavy drought conditions. So they've got a lot of water regulations in place to prepare for this, and so I went through multiple different communities, sort of summarized what I was seeing, looked to see if there were any strong similarities between communities, which kind of indicate where things might be working for people. I kind of looked at that and pulled together and then tried to make some informed decisions on what might be suitable here. And this table that I've put together where we break down stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we'll move through those stages as we see necessary. There might be some years where we don't need to escalate. There might be some years where we need to escalate a lot. But hopefully that'll give us a good idea of how we can approach water regulations if we do need to implement them. People know what they're dealing with. And I've seen in other communities where they've put a table such as this together, and then over time they've maybe amended it slightly just as feedback has come in, or they've seen little changes that would suit it better, and it might take a couple years for us to land on a final approach, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, and part of that definitely is going to be that climate change, how things happen in our community and what's going to be best. I really appreciate you coming up with that, going through the research and coming up with that table that makes it easy for the community to follow and to understand. So I really appreciate that. So
yeah, hopefully it just gives people an idea of what they can expect going forward. Whereas I know last year when we brought in restrictions for the first time, we didn't have that forward planning. So we kind of went straight from our everyday to no outdoor sprinkling at all.
Right.
Whereas this way, hopefully we can have a more gradual change, and maybe we don't need to go all the way to no outdoor sprinkling at all. We can make smaller changes, and you see that usage shift across the community that is enough that we don't need to escalate as significantly as we did last year.
And I appreciate that. And then for those in the community that are, kind of wondering, does that apply to everyone? It applies to everyone in the community, including us, the City of Revelstoke. Our water sprinkling systems will be adjusted accordingly, so they'll meet the needs. And if for some reason we miss that, we'd like people to know, or let us know, so that we can adjust our timers and that sort of thing, and make sure that we're setting the example as well as we go forward. So, All right, thanks again, really, for explaining everything, Emily. I think it's clear to the community as to how we've reached this regulation and then how we'll move forward. So, any concerns or anything else that we should let the community know as far as the regulations?
I don't think so, but if people have questions or they just want to know more, we're updating our website. We're getting more information out there, and people can always email us at engineering@revelstoke.ca and we can answer any questions they might have.
And then the water regulation chart, as we've set it out now, is available on our website, so people can go and see that.
Yes, that's correct. And our communications coordinator has come up with some good graphics, and we'll see a few posters around town with QR codes and image graphics that go on our social media and the Facebook page, and those will all link you to the website as well.
That's perfect. I appreciate that. Good. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Emily, for coming in and explaining that. And thanks to our audience for listening in. You can find more of our videos on the city's YouTube channel, our Facebook, and as well as our Instagram accounts. Thank you again for taking the time to check in to see what we're doing in the city. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Thanks, Emily.